It was May 7, 2023. Gus Blue and Toby Winters had been stuck in the church for the past 12 hours. They were both husks of what they were mentally. Both of them were in fear of the Novus Ordo Seclorum catching up to them. The whereabouts of Mr. Dominus had remained a mystery. They were both surprised that he wasn't found by anybody. But what they didn't know was that a Scottish bounty hunter by the name of Fife MacDonald was after them. "Hey Toby, we need to get out of Clifton before they catch up to us," said Gus. "The limo might still be intact enough for us to drive. I think there is a town called Galway nearby. Maybe we could drive over there. There might be an airport. I have the money. Maybe we could get back to the United States." "It's no use, Gus. The Novus Ordo Seclorum is everywhere. It is inexorable. They will find us no matter where we are. I say that we should stay here and wait for the inevitable." "What? You're just going to give up like that? Come on, Toby. Where is your dignity? You were on board 6 hours ago," said Gus. "Well, people can change their minds. Why would they kill us?" "They know we are important," said Toby. "True, but I want to escape them. I talked with Archbishop Miller. He bought some plane tickets to JFK International Airport. I personally have never really seen NYC all that much. And plus, the plan is going to work," said Gus confidently. "If you really think this plan is going to work, then what is it?" asked Toby. "First, we are going to put on some disguises. Now, Miller has some priest uniforms that we could wear. He gave me some money to buy a couple of train tickets. The station is only a couple of blocks away. We are going to board train 227 and get off at the stop at Galway. We are going to have to call an Uber to the airport. When we arrive, there is a United Airlines flight to NYC in Gate C7. They will expect us at Bencow Falls, not New York. And how on earth will they find 2 kids in a city with over 8 million people?" said Gus. "I guess it sounds good, but what about our faces?" asked Toby. "There are some wigs and glasses for us to wear," responded Gus. Gus Blue and Toby Winters put on their disguises and began walking to the train station. Archbishop Miller walked downstairs and talked to Mr. Dominus. "These fools, they don't know that you called Alia," said the Archbishop. "I trust that she told Fife MacDonald about the entire plan. These imbeciles will be caught before they get to the station. But one more thing. Will you be there to talk to them? I think you remember Mr. Walter Wright? Well, he is dead, but they still haven't met his assistant yet. They are going to have a good scare when they see him. He will take them onto a private jet back to Bencow Falls. I'll get on with them. And Mr. Schneider will go back to Germany to recruit some new members for our army. You understand that Heinrich Schneider is going to create the army to rule the world," said Mr. Dominus with an evil grin. "So what am I going to do to help?" asked Archbishop Miller. "These 350 soldiers that you have trained are going to train these new recruits from around the world. Each soldier will train a division of 1,000 soldiers each at first. But eventually, we must grow the army to 3,500,000 men," said Mr. Dominus. "Yes, my good sir," said the Archbishop. Gus and Toby had spent the past 20 minutes waiting for train 227 to arrive. The time was 11:57 p.m. The train was supposed to arrive at 12 a.m. Both Gus and Toby were afraid of any bystander in the area. The station was empty and devoid of any life. The only thing that was there to protect Toby and Gus were the blinding fluorescent lights lighting up the platform. Suddenly, a man with a grey beard and pink skin walked up to the station. Gus and Toby were already afraid, but this strange man made him even more fearful of the Novus Ordo Seclorum. You know, it is quite a strange sight to see a couple of priests at 12 a.m., the man said. What are your names? Where are you guys going? My name is Chris Monson, Toby said. And my name is Jesus, said Gus in a rush to come up with a name. I have never met any Catholic who is named Jesus. But anyways, where are you guys heading? We are heading to NY, Gus said before getting interrupted. We are going back home to the United States, said Toby. And where is your home? The gray-bearded man said. New York City, said Gus. Train 227 then arrived at the station. Gus and Toby began walking to the train. The bearded man pulled out a Luger from his pocket and pointed it at Gus. If you two move a single muscle, I will kill both of you. And I was tasked to capture you by an Alia Marie DuPont, he said. The hunter grabbed Gus and Toby's arms to ensure that they didn't escape. At that moment, a tall and skinny man walked off the train. He was white and had brown hair and gray eyes and looked like he was in his late 30s. The man wore what looked like an SS uniform, however the uniform had none of the original symbols but instead had new symbols and markings. I am pleased that you got Mr. Blue and Mr. Winters in one piece, Fife McDonald. You will be paid fairly by the Novus Ordo Seclorum. It was a pleasure to have you work with us. And remember, Fife, if you work with us again, you will receive another handsome reward, said the man in a German accent. The man then threw a large duffel bag. Fife opened the bag and saw a large amount of money. 200,000 euros. The extra 100,000 is to convince you to work with us more, said the man in the suit. Thank you. But I never caught your name. What is it? Asked Fife. Just call me Mr. Schneider, but please do not worry about me or the Novus Ordo Seclorum. If you do your job properly, you will receive more money and power than you could ever imagine, said Mr. Schneider. And if I fail, what will your guys do to me? Asked Fife. We will rip every last limb off of your body and put you into a gas chamber. Do you understand? Now give me Gus and Toby. I should have a ride coming soon. And I would suggest getting out of here, responded Mr. Schneider. Fife McDonald handed him over and walked away from the train station. After a while, a black Hummer showed up. The driver got out of the car and forced Toby and Gus into the back seat. So where exactly are we going? Asked Gus. We're going back to the private jet, responded Mr. Schneider. What is your name? Who do you work for? Asked Toby. Normally, I wouldn't deliberately say this kind of stuff, but since you are one of Mr. Dominus's students, I will gladly tell you both. My name is Heinrich Schneider. I used to be the assistant of Mr. Walter until he got a bullet in the eye. Now, I work with Mr. Dominus. I am not a student, I am the weapons dealer for the Novus Ordo Seclorum. I am the architect of weaponry, Heinrich said with an evil grin on his face. Gus and Toby were both surprised by what he had to say. Are you a Nazi? Asked Gus. For the most part, I am a Nazi, however I am more careful than Mr. Walter. I personally think it was quite foolish of him to destroy a house. It was what led to his demise. Now, Could you two please stop asking questions? I am already going insane just by hearing you two asking these ridiculous questions, and quat, said Mr. Schneider. Gus and Toby stood there silently for a while until Toby asked Gus a question. Was it worth it? Worth what? Asked Gus. Was it worth giving away our entire plan to Fife? Responded Toby. Now, hold on Toby, he was just a stranger, and he asked a question. I didn't. Nots, replied Gus before getting interrupted by Toby. And to make things worse, you came up with the name Jesus. I mean, come on. You should have at least thought of a reasonable name before you got to the station. I am beyond disappointed in you, Gus. I am outright mad at you. Our plan could have worked had you not screwed everything up. We could have been on the train well on our way to Galway, but no. Because you just had to be so unintelligent. You are so much smarter than this. What were you thinking? Said Toby, frustrated. Listen Toby, I'm sorry that I'm not some nerdy smartass like you, but I was stressed out. My mind wasn't thinking properly. I have been mentally broken ever since my parents died. Toby, do you understand that there has been a ton of bullshit going on in my life right now? Replied Gus. Yeah. Well, I'm sorry Gus, but this shit happens to us sometimes. Did you know that my life has been terrible for the past year? And the introduction of Mr. Dominus into my life has been one of the most terrible things that has happened to me. I cannot escape him, and that was our last chance to escape them. They are more powerful now than ever, so I give up, said Toby. Look at what you are saying. Mr. Dominus has tricked you into thinking this way. What happened to ever wanting to escape the Novus Ordo Seclorum? The old Toby Winters would be willing to die just to escape them. Do you not think that I wanted to escape? Of course I do. But the difference between me and you is that you are too optimistic. You have hope that everything will go back to the way it was 10 years ago. Well, I'm sorry Gus Blue, but you will never be that happy 5-year-old from 2013 ever again. But you can still dream that it will happen, replied Toby. Toby, you were quite literally the only good thing that came into my life recently, but you are not the scientist that I met, said Gus. And you are not the intelligent Gus that I remember. You just had to ruin our plan. You and your petty optimism got in the way of the Novus Ordo Seclorum. We would both be lucky if they don't kill us. What about the time you fucking crashed the limo? That seemed pretty reckless and stupid. To me, rebutted Gus. Stupid? We wouldn't be in this mess if you didn't punch the driver in the face. We would probably be back in Bencow Falls by now without being in fear of them. Killy, said Toby, being interrupted by the sound of a gunshot. The driver of the Hummer dropped dead on the wheel. Luckily, the dead body did not accelerate the car. Slowly but surely, the car started to slow down. The car had finally stopped. Gus opened the door to see the private jet and the runway. Gus was confused about why the driver was killed. He saw Heinrich holding a Mauser pistol. Why did you kill the driver? Asked Gus. He knew too much, replied Mr. Schneider, as he dragged the body out of the car and into a nearby forest. Heinrich then got into the Hummer and drove off. The plane engine was now starting up. Gus was surprised to see Mr. Dominus there. Alia was also there. I would suggest getting on board, or I might change my mind on sparing you two, said Mr. Dominus. Gus and Toby complied and walked onto the plane. Gus and Toby chose seats away from each other. Neither one spoke a single word on the 12-hour flight. It was now Monday, May 8th. The time was 12:57 p.m. In Bencow Falls, the weather was a nice 80 degrees Fahrenheit. Gus got off the jet. There was another limo driver ready to take Gus back home. Gus was not excited for this week at school.